Madam Mayor, still showing Ron, who tried to rejoin, is hung up again.
Okay. Jeff, any other suggestions? I'm going to give him my tech advice,
well,
which is turn your computer off and turn it back on.
Oh,
From the screen I'm looking at currently, I don't see that he's stuck joining. I see admit or remove.
Oh, there he is.
yeah, I've got him. I let him in on his phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There appears to be a Ron Corbeil in the waiting room, interestingly.
Perfect. Hi, Ron, you made
there
it.
You go.
I had to use my phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Twyla, just a note, because the internet isn't working very well in my office, I'm just using my laptop, which has the agenda on it for
Okay.
Zoom as well. So if you could just try to keep the one that we have on the screen split moving, that would be helpful. I can go back and forth to it. I just have to go off the screen. I can't see.
Sure, I'll try to be on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So the meeting is live on YouTube.
Okay, and it's 2 o'clock. I'm just going to check because I can't see all of council. Is Helen on?
Helen is present.
Okay. Okay. So she might just have her video off for now. Can anyone else see her?
No.
No. Okay. We'll just wait for her to join.
Yeah,
Okay.
her video is off. That's correct,
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Okay. She'll join when she gets back then. That's fine. So it is 2 o'clock. So we will call our regular meeting of council to order and start by recognizing that we are holding our meeting on the unceded traditional territories of the Sishat and Huipetesset First Nations. And council, we have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additional items to add? Councillor Solda.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to add discussion about the RCMP and maybe potential cameras for them.
Sure. We will discuss that. Are you suggesting like a motion or just a point of information?
Just a point of information right now. Thank
Okay.
you.
Sure. So we can just maybe ask that question of Inspector Rochette when we welcome him. Okay, and any other items to add? Okay, seeing none. Anything from the city clerk?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and just a point of notice for anybody watching. We do have public input period during these meetings. Of course, it's different than it typically is with it being electronic. So if any members of the public would like to submit questions or comments, you can do so by emailing council@portalberni.ca. That information is included in our agenda, and there's 2 different points in the meeting where we allow public input. So with that, would somebody like to move approval of our agenda as amended? Thank you, Councillor Solda. Is there a seconder? Councillor Washington, and any conversation? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. And we have minutes of the special meeting of council held at 12:30 p.m. and the regular meeting of council held at 2 p.m. on May 25th, 2020, as well as the special meeting held at 9:30 a.m. on June 1st, 2020. Would somebody like to move adoption of the minutes?
Move to adopt.
Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Washington. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And that brings us to public input period, which is an opportunity for members of the public to address council on topics of relevance to City Council. City Clerk, did we receive any input?
Madam Mayor, no input was received.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder again, we do have question period at the end of our meeting. So for anybody who is watching who has questions, you can submit them during the meeting to council@portalberni.ca for them to be read out at the end of the meeting as well. So we will move into delegations, and the first one, I am very excited to introduce our new officer in charge at the RCMP, Inspector Eric Rochette. Eric comes most recently from Comox, and I'll let him tell a little bit about his background, but Inspector Rochette, we are so excited to have you here finally, and just really looking forward to getting to know you and getting you welcomed into the community. And I know you've had, a big week already, so hope it's going well. And I'll just turn it over to you if you have any comments you'd like to make.
Well, thank you very much for the warm welcome. Yes, it is day 5 for me. So yes, it's been a busy week and a busy day so far. I'm just going to mention a couple of things and for my family, my background, and then some comments. Well, I was born and raised in Montreal and joined the RCMP in '97. So I've been a member for 23 years. 22 of those 23 years have been what we call general duty, frontline policing, uniform, doing different roles. I worked in obviously BC as well as Manitoba and Quebec. Family-wise, I have 4 young children. They're all under the age of 10. So obviously they're really exciting about the future move to the community. I haven't had the chance to sell my house yet, still working on it, obviously with the COVID-19 and put a bit of a setback on that, but looks like I'll be able to move into the community probably mid-August, and really excited about that. Really looking forward to getting involved in the community. I've been involved in the past with coaching hockey and being involved in different sports and soccer and baseball, and I'm looking forward to doing the same thing in Port Alberni once we settle down with the family. And the only comment I'd like to make in regards of the detachment, obviously I've only been here a short period of time. I just want to mention I've been quite impressed with the staff at the detachment, and I'm talking about the regular members as well as the support staff. It's a really, some have been there for a long time, really dedicated. They really want to help the community as best as they can. Obviously there's always room for improvement. I want to keep an open door policy, meaning if you have any questions, concerns, feel free to contact the detachment. You can speak to anyone at the detachment, or you can ask for myself, and be more than happy to answer any of your questions or concerns. The other point too, I just want to make sure that the public understands that there's no such thing as like no calls are too small. So you've been victim of a crime, even if you feel that's a petty theft or something minor and hesitating about contacting the police, please do so. Don't hesitate to call us. You never know, maybe that's one piece of the puzzle that's required for us to solve a bigger crime and to deal with chronic offenders. Just a quick comment in regards of, obviously there's been some changes as far as attending the detachment. Obviously you're well aware that we can't enter the building at this point because of COVID-19. We're currently working in protocols that hopefully we're going to see the possibility for people to attend the detachment. And we're waiting for further instructions from the RCMP as well as working with the city in regards to that. And as soon as we get more information, I'll pass it along to you guys as well, to the public. That's it.
Wonderful.
Questions?
Are there any questions? Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say again, welcome to Port Alberni. We're very pleased to have somebody with your background and qualifications, and especially happy that we stole somebody that's so experienced and highly regarded from the Comox Valley. So it's nice that we're able to steal great employees like you from other areas, and welcome to your young family as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Solda, and then Councillor Corbeil.
Is this where you want me to wait or talk about the cameras, Madam Mayor? Or should I wait till the end?
Yeah, you're welcome to. You're
Okay.
welcome to ask questions, yes.
Sure. So Inspector, regarding body cameras, there's been a lot of discussion out in the public throughout the world about police officers wearing body cameras. Where do you see that in the Alberni Valley? And for the future, have you heard anything? Are you going to keep abreast on it if you haven't? So just kind of curious to know where we are on that, because I foresee it's gonna happen eventually.
So I haven't heard anything from the RCMP. Obviously, as soon as I get any information, I'll make sure to make you, Council and Mayor, aware of any new information when it comes to body camera. But at this point, I haven't received any information. I'm aware that a few years ago, a certain detachment at a, we're testing some of the body cameras, but I'm not sure of the end results, and hasn't been mentioned in the last couple of years.
Okay, thank you. And it's something, Madam Mayor, that maybe we can keep our ears to with the higher up politicians, our MP in that, because we don't want to be stuck with a big bill at the end. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Councillor Corbeil.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question, Inspector Rochette. You've been to many communities in your time with the RCMP. I'm just curious, have you worked with community policing, and what are your thoughts on community policing? And in your short time here, have you any thoughts on how community policing could play a role in Port Alberni? Thank you.
Well, I've had some experience in the past. What I can say is I actually sat down last week with community policing manager Dave Cousson. I just started fairly recently. We got a lengthy conversation about what he has in mind as far as for the future for the program. And he's really energetic, really excited about his new role, and I'm fully supportive of the program. The way I look at it is the more people involved, the better it is for the RCMP, for the community as well. I know that with the, obviously COVID-19 hasn't been easy for him to meet volunteers, future volunteers, or for training. He's currently working on that, and but I'm fully supportive of that program, and I'll do everything I can as a detachment commander to support him and support the program within the community.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments from councillors? Okay, seeing none, I want to just thank you for coming today, and we're really looking forward to having you working with us and just building a relationship. I know there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the Valley, but we were really impressed by just your community-minded attitude during interviews, and just really looking forward to having you and your family here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to our next delegation, we have, I will just welcome our Manager of Planning, Caitlin McDougall, to introduce our new development planner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So earlier this year, City Council enabled the creation of a new planning position that will help support the growth of Port Alberni, which is a really exciting opportunity for the city as we're trying to move forward with lots of development applications that are on the go. So this new position will work closely with developers, landowners, the public, stakeholders, and staff on land use and development applications. Funding for this position was secured in the 5-year financial plan, as you might recall. So after a very competitive job search, I am very, very excited to introduce to you Brian McLaughlin, who has been hired as the city's new development planner. Brian brings to us knowledge, experience, and a proven track record of success working with local government. He has previously worked for the City of Campbell River for 12 years, or just over 12 years, I should say, in various roles, including their engineering and planning departments. And he has just also completed his Master's of Community Planning at Vancouver Island University. This is it's been his first couple of weeks on the job here, but I've really noticed that Brian has a strong understanding of urban design, and he really sees how strategic objectives can be actualized through development and growth, which is pretty great to see. If I could suggest, council, to you that you might want to ask Brian, he's here today with us on the Zoom call, about some of his initial impressions of Port Alberni and any observations that he might like to share. But other than that, I'd just like to welcome Brian and introduce you to him.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Caitlin. And Brian, we will maybe let councillors ask questions as well. But if you want to, we'd love to hear your kind of thoughts on the community. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sure. And thank you, Caitlin, for the introduction. And it's great to meet all of you, at least remotely. And I hope one day, sometime soon, we can actually meet in person. I'm sure it'll come soon enough. I've actually just recently moved to Port Alberni, now, as you know, and actually found a place in Uptown. And honestly, I like the entire community. I think it's really unique in the way that it was originally 2 communities. But right now, because I'm living in Uptown, I can really see the potential. And that is something I'm really excited about. And in terms of development and how it progresses in Port Alberni, I really believe that going forward, development is best for the community when it reflects the community's needs and its wants. and grows in a way that reflects the community. And that's really the lens that I take on planning as well, just so you guys know a little bit about me and where I'm coming from.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing that. Council, are there any questions for Brian? Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your introduction. We're very happy to have you to Port Alberni, so welcome. And we look forward to working with you and the rest of the planning staff on further completing our strategic plan. I was wondering how you would feel if you and Caitlin and maybe with the rest of the council members and any other staff could kind of do a walkthrough of our uptown district to do some brainstorming about what we could do to revitalize it. I know with the initial plan that was brought forward, for many different reasons, the community was not enamored with it for cost, or maybe it was our lack of communication that we did, but we need to start doing some work on our uptown area. And I was wondering how you and Caitlin would feel about that and the rest of council. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick question for Brian. Where's the real salmon capital of the world?
Oh, wow. That is a hard, I'm a Campbell River boy myself. That's a hard question to answer. But right now, let's say it's Port Alberni.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? Councillor Solda and then Councillor Corbeil.
Yeah, first of all, Brian, welcome to Port Alberni. We're the ultimate salmon capital. We gave the other title away because we're ultimate. But anyways, it's really nice to have a second person in the planning department because we have so many big projects like development going on. And I'm sure that our manager of planning welcomes you with whole heart. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Corbeil.
Yeah, welcome, Brian. One of the things in our strategic plan is the key-to-key walkway. And obviously Campbell River has some beautiful walkways. They have that one walkway that follows the ocean front from Willow Point right into town. I'm wondering if you were involved in that in any way, and have you any thoughts on how Port Alberni could start to access riverfront and the ocean where we can?
Actually, yeah, the waterfront is one of the greatest assets of Port Alberni. And as for moving ahead with something like that, I defer to Tim and to Caitlin, of course. But I can say absolutely that that's where the potential lies. And really that connection between the two keys that'd be amazing for the community in terms of moving people and establishing that recreation space.
Thank you. Okay, well, we are excited to welcome you to town, Brian, and looking forward to getting to know you and getting to work with you more soon. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Okay, and if I could just ask that anybody who is just calling in, if everybody could just mute themselves, we're getting a lot of background, or I'm getting a lot of background noise. Okay, and our next delegation is from Canadian Mental Health Association, Katrina Kiefer. With her, I know she has Todd Patola, the president of their board, and the director of New Commons Development as well. So we're really looking forward to have you guys here to talk about your project that you're working on. And I did just want to note that this delegation was scheduled to happen in March, and unfortunately we had to push it back due to COVID and cancellation of some meetings. So better late than never. We're looking forward to having you here now. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and all councillors that are on the line. I'm Todd Patola. I'm the president of Canadian Mental Health in Port Alberni, and Dion White, who's with New Commons Development, is with me by video, and we're here with. Thank you for the opportunity to come here. We're here with respect to a new building project on 2nd Avenue that we're pursuing. CMHA partnered with New Commons for this project. They bring expertise in development, and it's Mr. White that has the lead on that project. So I'm going to leave it to him to explain an overview of where we're at, what we've accomplished, and where we're going. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Your Worship and members of council, for having us today, and Todd for the introduction. My name is Dion White. I am the director of the Small Communities Initiative with New Commons Development. New Commons is a nonprofit real estate developer that works exclusively in partnership with local community nonprofits to develop affordable housing. And that is then going to be owned and managed by the community nonprofit once built. So I appreciate the opportunity to provide a bit of a project summary, and I'm mindful that we have a delegation time limit, so I'll just jump right at it and provide a little bit of an overview of a bit of a summary of the project in terms of objectives. I'll describe very briefly the project phases that we anticipate working through and where we're at in those phases right now. A little bit on on the status of the project and progress to date. And then time permitting, a little bit on next steps and when you can likely hear or expect to hear back from us again. So project summary, as Todd mentioned, this is a partnership between the Canadian Mental Health Association, Port Alberni, and the City of New Commons Development to explore the potential for developing a mixed use commercial / office space and residential development on the city-owned site at 302737 2nd Avenue. The objectives of the project would be to deliver a mixed market residential development that incorporates a portion of units at affordable rents, potentially cross-subsidized with some near-market rental units. And again, as previously mentioned, some commercial and/or office space dedicated on the ground floor, in keeping with the core commercial zone of the city's OCP. CMHA is interested in incorporating, and we are exploring opportunities to incorporate some level of assistance or support for more vulnerable individuals who may be transitioning to more permanent and long-term forms of independent housing, if possible. And, you know, this is one of the areas where, as we're working through the process, we're looking to identify potential funding partners that may be in a position to support that level of additional assistance. And that will be part of the work that we're undertaking as we move through the current phase. Further objectives of the development would obviously be to be financially sustainable and self-sustaining, while incorporating inclusive and sustainable design principles. And it's really important as well that we're pursuing a project that makes best and optimal use of the land. I mean, this is municipally owned land. We want to make sure that any proposal we bring forward for that site is making appropriate and best use of that land, and in a way that aligns with the city's OCP. As I previously mentioned, the site is 3027-3037 2nd Avenue. So there's 3 legal parcels there that share those 2 civic addresses. The site in total is about 13,500 square feet. So it's not a huge site, but it's located very close to services, amenities, and is centrally located in the downtown area. Not far from City Hall and not far from CMHA's current clubhouse operation. In terms of project phases, essentially the way we work through a development process is begins with a feasibility phase, which then moves into permitting, assuming that feasibility can be proven, followed by construction, and then obviously lease up and operations. We are right now just talking about the initial feasibility phase that we are in, which we anticipate will last another 8 to 10 weeks or so. Deliverables out of the feasibility phase include a fully developed development proposal and business plan for the site, a financial pro forma, preliminary design, including site plan, some elevations and renderings, and a schematic design of the units and interior spaces themselves. And of course, any requisite site investigations that we need to undertake in order to satisfy ourselves and the city that the site is appropriate and able to be used for this type of purpose without too many complications. As a result of the feasibility phase, we will be meeting, obviously, with our partners, the Canadian Mental Health Association, to review the results of the feasibility process and make some go or no-go decisions based on those results, whether or not to continue to explore the project or proceed to subsequent phases. And we anticipate meeting again with City Council around that time to present you with results of the feasibility phase as well, and ensure that we've incorporated any input and feedback that you may have on that development proposal as early on in the process as we can. That being said, we want to bring you a fully developed proposal and not be bringing multiple options forward that we may be considering as we work through the feasibility itself. Project status and progress to date. So on the funding side, we've been successful in securing some pre-development funding to support the feasibility phase of the process. CMHA has secured $20,000 from Newmarket Fund Society's Small Communities Initiative. So this is an affiliate organization of ours that has a granting program to support this type of work in smaller and rural communities around British Columbia, outside of Metro Vancouver, essentially. We've also been able to secure $111,000 from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation as seed funding. Now, the caveat to that being about 41,000 of that is a grant, which we anticipate utilizing or drawing on to support this current phase. The balance, about $70,000, would come in the form of a low interest loan, which we would anticipate making use of should the process move beyond the feasibility phase. And finally, we've secured a $25,000 grant from Victoria Foundation's Investment Readiness Program towards the project as well. So all that to say, we have secured sufficient working capital for the feasibility phase to complete the deliverables previously listed. We've also completed a fair bit of the site due diligence work, and there were some delays around this, and obviously COVID has played into the overall timeline of this activity. As it did push back the timeline for having this conversation with you, but we were able to kind of get up and going again, and completed a phase 1 environmental site investigation of the site, and happy to report there were no significant issues encountered at the proposed site. We have completed a geotechnical assessment. So a drill rig came in and did some test holes to confirm what the substrate material looked like and how foundations would need to be constructed should a building be contemplated for the site. And we have completed a topographical survey of the site to inform the preliminary design. And I believe all of those studies have been forwarded to the municipality. So, you have copies of all of those. It is your site after all. And we've also completed a fairly significant procurement process to retain and contract the project architect for this project. So we are now, that process is now complete. And following 5 bids received from firms who were invited to submit a proposal, we did select CP Architecture Services out of Nanaimo and Vancouver. So they have offices in both Nanaimo and Vancouver. Their principal lives in Nanaimo, works out of the Nanaimo office, and he is the lead on the project for the CMHA project. We've held initial project meetings with the architects, and we are now just into the first iterations of very preliminary design and discussing, what might be possible at the site. Very, very early. I think they've sent us one preliminary iteration, which we've discussed, and we're still in the process of formulating our comments and feedback and getting that back to them. So it's a bit of an iterative process. We do know that there are some questions that are kind of arising out of that process, which we anticipate discussing at more length with certainly with the city staff and potentially yourselves. And those include, just questions around the specific services or levels of assistance that would be provided on site and how those line up with the city's definitions for supportive housing. And this will really determine whether or not a rezoning process is required for the site. And then also some questions around parking. And as we know that the site is going to present some limitations just in terms of overall space to accommodate parking on site. And so we kind of anticipate coming back to discuss some potential alternatives for how we might address parking for residents. In terms of next steps, how am I doing for time?
Well, you're just about out of time, but you can continue.
Are you okay with that? Okay, thank you. In terms of next steps, obviously we're going to complete our development of the initial design. We will be undertaking a servicing study and have just recently contracted 2 engineering firms to complete a servicing study to confirm offsite servicing requirements and estimated costs, which is an important component of the pro forma that we will continue to develop through the feasibility phase along with the business plan. We are submitting an application to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities' new Sustainable Affordable Housing Fund, which would allow us to explore the feasibility of pursuing a net zero energy standard for the building, and determine whether or not that may support the overall project financials or and what would be required to deliver a building of that type. And depending on the results of the feasibility phase and the decision made to pursue next steps, we anticipate preparing and submitting an application in response to BC Housing's recently released request for proposals for the Community Housing Fund. Obviously, we also anticipate, as previously mentioned, presenting this development proposal to municipal staff and council at such time as is deemed appropriate, and discussing how we may want to consider engaging with the broader community, either through a rezoning process or, if the rezoning is not required, through some alternate process.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for providing that update. And I'll give Katrina an opportunity as well if she wants to add anything to it. But I know that there have been members of the public who have been curious what's going on at that site. So it was important to us all to want to update on what the potential plans are. But I think that most people recognize that both housing and supportive services are probably one of the biggest issue for our community right now. So really excited to see you guys making so much progress on this project. And Katrina, I'll just welcome you if you want to add any comments.
Hi, right. I didn't. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us again. Just to speak to that quickly about sort of the feedback we're getting. I didn't see any of it, so I'm just getting this third hand. But again, I just want to assure everybody that any concerns are going to be addressed. I'm not sure that there's accurate gossip going around right now.
There's usually not accurate gossip going on.
I know, right? I don't think that's an oxymoron. Yeah, so that's further down the road, right? There's processes in place, and just to make sure everybody understands that if I'm not responding to gossip, it's not, it's because I want to stay within the process and do this right and have information out there at the right time in the right way, and bring the whole community, not just pieces, right?
Absolutely.
Equal opportunity for feedback.
Perfect.
Anyway, thank you. Sorry, I understand we've gone over time.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Council, are there any questions? Councillor Paulson?
I just want to say thanks for coming in today, and it looks like you're reporting from your outdoor home there. But I think this is a really exciting project. I think that the expansion on the existing clubhouse, you've proven to be great citizens of our community. So I just hope that I just wish you all the best of luck as you go through this planning process. I know what it's like. I'm involved with another group that's putting together a proposal, and we hope to break ground pretty soon. But anyway, good luck to you, and I think it's a great site. The fact that there's supportive services possibly in the initiative really excites me, and we are a community that's really short on supportive services in many areas. But the more supportive services we can attract to our community, the better we are to serve some of the population that needs help. So congratulations, you guys. I know there's a lot of work ahead of you. If you want to talk net zero, give me a call, because we're in that position as well. So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Solda.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I don't have much of a comment because I want to see the architectural drawings, and then I'll be making more comments regarding the parking. I do want to focus on the Thunderbird did some underground parking, and they also have the frontage for businesses in that. And that might be something that if they're having a shortage to look into under some underground parking. So I'm looking forward to seeing the drawings. Thank you.
For sure. And I think all of those things will be addressed as we move through the process. So perfect. Any other comments from councillors? Okay, seeing none, thank you for joining us today and for the work that you are doing on this project and in our community generally. We're very fortunate to have CMHA local branch representing and doing so much work in our community. So thanks for being here.
Thanks again for having us.
Okay, that is our last delegation. So we will move on to unfinished business. Oh, there is no unfinished business. So staff reports, item 1, accounts. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the certification of the Director of Finance dated June 8, 2020 be received and checks numbering 146254 to 146312 inclusive, and payments of accounts totaling $570,859.13 be approved.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And all in favor? Carried. And item 2 from the Manager of Planning, we have development permit number 2001 for 5119 Athol Street.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. So before you for consideration is the application for development permit number 2001 for the property located at 5119 Athol Street. The subject property is zoned C3, service commercial, and is located within the development permit area number 2, commercial development. The applicant is proposing to add 1 additional story to an existing commercial building, which will be used for cannabis microcultivation and processing. A temporary use permit was issued to the property on July 22nd, 2019, which permits those uses on the site for a temporary basis. And the property is kind of also being considered as part of a larger zoning bylaw consideration that's before council right now for cannabis cultivation facilities. So, but for now, the temporary use permit applies to that site, permitting those uses. The existing structure on the property is an older detached concrete block building, and it's located towards the east portion of the triangular property, and it slightly encroaches upon the lane, which is city property. The attached elevations and plans illustrate the exterior appearance of the building with the proposed renovations and upgrades. So this structure would consist of white concrete blocks with black metal trim, siding and roofing, and red canopy features, the red canopy features being the ones maintained and upgraded as part of the building design. So these materials and colors will provide for an attractive and contrasting building detail, which will kind of create a nice modern industrial appearance for that site. You know, as they kind of upgrade it from the beige and red to white, black, and red, I think it'll help give it a bit more of a modern appearance. So this building is in a highly visible area, specifically the west side of the building facade that faces towards the waterfront and can clearly be seen from key locations such as Tyee Landing or the train station. So in discussions with the applicant agreed to paint some red horizontal lines along the side of the building, just kind of as a way to break up and enhance the appearance of a large blank white wall. The applicant also has expressed to us that they would be interested in potentially hiring someone to paint a mural on the side of the building if there's a program to help cover some of the costs for that type of initiative. So that might be something that City Council would want to direct staff to further investigate this type of opportunity with the applicant. A mural in this location could help attract attention, visitors, and maybe encourage further revitalization in the surrounding area. They often also help contribute to a sense of place and become a source of pride in the community. In terms of parking, 4 parking spaces will be provided on site, accessed by the lane. A gravel parking lot will be provided and then later upgraded to a paved lot. Landscaping for the site includes a mix of potted shrubs and flowers, as well as some hedges. And so the cost estimate for both soft and hard landscaping is $5,000, and security in this amount is going to be provided to the city as a condition of the development permit approval. So overall, the proposed building sufficiently meets the development permit area guidelines and should be an attractive addition to the existing structure. The upgrades and addition to the building will help contribute to that kind of ongoing revitalization of the area and the greater Uptown district. So the planning department supports the issuance of development permit number 2001 for 5119 Athol Street with the conditions outlined in the permit.
Thank you very much. Are there questions from councillors? Councillor Corbeil and then Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one, while I'm in favor of the development, Caitlin, you glossed over the part about the encroachment in the laneway. Is that something we should be concerned about?
It's something that the applicant has, I believe, brought forward to the city in past with some interest in potentially either an easement or purchasing a portion or the entirety of that laneway. I think it is a legally non-conforming structure, and if the city is not doing anything about it, then it's fine. But if we want to work out a deal, then we should probably discuss that with the applicant.
Thank you, Councillor Washington, and then Councillor Solda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question for a manager of planning. With this addition, or when we go ahead with this addition, if we go ahead, would that take him out of the micro cultivation and micro processing? Would that make him a major rather than a micro because of the size of the building?
No, it's not. The micro designation is not related to the size of the building. It's related to the amount of canopy I guess the plant that you're growing, and that's really a designation that's determined by the federal government.
Thank you, Councillor Solda.
Yeah, just a quick question on the laneway. Go back to the laneway for the manager of planning. Do we utilize that laneway right now for services or anything, or does anybody use it?
I do not believe that there are currently any services running through the laneway along the east portion of the building, which is where the building's encroached. I believe that up until a point there, the lane was possibly being used with the previous building that was next door, but otherwise there's no services in the lane that I'm aware of.
Okay, and second, I do like murals, so I'm a great supporter on those. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Not to sound too negative or controversial here, because I know this community loves murals, but I don't like murals. They're very beautiful, they are. But I worry the more murals that we add to the community, the more faded murals that we have. And it seems like when we put in murals, we don't really think about what's going to happen when they fade and they have to be redone. And so we have a lot of murals that unfortunately just end up looking faded and not very good after time. And the ones that have been repainted in the community look amazing, but it adds that level of difficulty and effort to, you know, to keep it up. And I find that for the most part, they end up just looking kind of looking run down, unfortunately. So they're beautiful when they're done, but I don't know that we want to always go to murals, because unless people really have a concept of a plan for how they're going to keep it looking good. Just a personal opinion on murals. Councillor Solda.
And I would agree with you on that, unless we write something in bylaws or something to do with upkeep of murals. And that would be something we could consider in the future.
Yes, for sure. I mean, they're so beautiful when they're done, but it doesn't take long before they stop looking, or before they stop looking that good and really just start to fade, especially with our weather here. Okay, and on the lane as well, I know that the applicant has expressed interest in buying it, and I'm not positive if we've received any kind of official offer. To my knowledge, we haven't. I know there's been you know, indications from him that he's interested, but I don't know if we've received anything official. And certainly if the applicant wanted to discuss purchasing the lane, we would of course have that conversation. I know that, you know, the building next door, of course, the Arrowview Hotel having now just about finished coming down, that opens up a lot more potential for that area as well. So that it might be worth it for us to keep the lane for a possible future development there. But I think if the applicant wanted to have that conversation, then we certainly could in a more official capacity. Okay, so any other questions from council? Councillor Paulson.
I think council already knows how I feel about this particular application, and I won't support as is presented today. And I guess each councillor and each citizen is entitled to their own vision, but I was hoping that that type of development, which I don't have a problem with, would have been encouraged to locate in one of our more industrial areas rather than our downtown area. I would prefer to have seen, now that the Arrowview is down, maybe some future thought on accommodation type venues or apartments, and maybe even marine type industry. But this is probably going to go through, and my vision isn't quite what everybody else says. So I just wanted to mention that and vote on.
Thank you for that, Councillor Paulson. Councillor Solda, would you like to read the motions?
Okay, Madam Mayor, I move that the Council for the City of Port Alberni approve development permit number 2001, and that the city clerk be authorized to sign the permit, including the following Schedule B development plans prepared by McGill and Associates Engineering Limited, titled 5119 Athol Street renovations, and dated April 14th, 2020, and includes items A through I. Do I need to go through A to I, or is that all inclusive?
You can just say A through I, inclusive as written.
Okay, as inclusive as written.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second, Madam Mayor.
Perfect. And any further conversation on this? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 3 from the Director of Finance, COVID-19 Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program for Small Businesses. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this report is provided to Council to allow for a better understanding of the situation as it relates to the City of Port Alberni and the leases that we have at the Harbour Quay. The Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program for small businesses was announced back in April 2020, and it was provided to support these businesses that need the assistance that have seen a decrease in their pre-COVID revenues. And also, the staff report is provided to allow for a possible recommendation to pursue our MP to see if we can have local government as an eligible party within the program. So this program is provided through CMHC, the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, on behalf of the federal government. And in order to qualify, a small business must have no more than $50,000 in monthly gross rent incurred. The business must not have a $20 million gross revenue, has to be $20 million and under, and has experienced a 70% decline in pre-COVID revenues. The tenants would have to be responsible for testing that they meet the eligibility for these requirements in the program. And the owners of the property would have to provide a loan forgiveness agreement of 75% of the normal rent that is payable. The CMHC would provide a 50% contribution to the program for the property owner, and the property owner would have to provide the 25% waiver of the rent that is outstanding. So the City of Port Alberni has 14 leases at the Harbor Quay that may be eligible for this funding if they were not leasing from the City of Port Alberni. So right now, the local governments are not eligible to apply within this program. Local government has been provided tools, but not necessarily funding from senior levels of government to address impacts from COVID. So we're looking to see if the recommendation is in front of you to see if we can have our MP pursue an option to have local government included. So we looked at the other options as far as providing the 75% waiver of rent and also the 25% as an option to the leaseholders at the Harbor Quay. But one caution there is that we are limited on the ability to support a business through the community charter. So we did reach out to the ministry, and their recommendation is to look at legal advice if we were to pursue these two other options, which we have not done yet. But if that is an option that council would like to see, we could undertake that. And we're at the point here where I think the recommendation would be best suited to approach our MP to seek that change in the program. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council has stated before that because these are tenants of the city, they shouldn't be getting any preferential treatment. But again, because they're tenants of the city, they shouldn't be penalized. So I fully support that we should advocate on their behalf that they be treated as any other tenant in the community. So thank you for bringing this forward, Andrew.
Thank you. Councillor Corbeil.
Well, I agree with Councillor Haggard 100%. And I'm curious, Andrew, we're not the only community in this predicament. I think Vancouver's raised the same issue and probably many others. Have you had any chance to talk to any other communities to find out exactly what they're doing?
Madam Mayor, I have not had an opportunity to talk to other communities that are in the same situation as us. I will reach out to them, but the staff that I know at the other municipalities are not in the same situation where they have these leases.
So I would agree with you that we have Gord John's work on our behalf, and depending on the outcome, I think we've got till the end of August. Is that when this program wraps up? And if that was the case, then maybe we'd look at some of the other options that you've got listed.
Thank you. Councillor Solda.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I totally agree with what we're doing here. And the only thing that I have a problem with is that the government should have let the tenants applied. You know, everybody that was renting a space in a business could have applied, show their business license and other ways to prove that they are actually renting a particular business. That would have helped a lot of the mom and pop's operations. There's still a lot of mom and pop operations in our community. Their landlords still haven't applied, or they're still waiting, and they're anxious too. So maybe we could just say that to our MP too, that they're still waiting. But I still think the government should have let the tenants applied in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think that there are a number of gaps in this program, and I'm not sure if anyone else saw it, but Gord is very aware of this issue. I've had conversations with him about it. I know others on council have as well. I actually just saw Gord share a video about half an hour ago of himself in question period, questioning the Minister of Middle Class Prosperity, I think it was, about this program and asking for them to expand it, and talking about all of the gaps of businesses that are not eligible to apply, but that do have the revenue reduction. So they're experiencing the hardship, but they're not eligible for the program for whatever reason. And some of it is that a landlord doesn't want to forgive the 25%. This program really leaves landlords needing to agree to that 25%, or the tenant gets nothing. And then of course, he also brought up the municipality issue, and he's very aware that as municipalities, we are not able to provide support to business. So we're really, I mean, we can get legal advice on whether or not we can make some kind of exception, but for the most part, we're not able to provide support to businesses. So we're really stuck in a place where we can't help businesses, and they are at a disadvantage because they're leasing from the city, which is not what we want. So I would suggest that we do write a letter to Gord, just to give him additional tools to advocate with, and a specific request from our municipality, you know, to bring forward to Ottawa, but that we expand it beyond just allowing for municipalities businesses to be eligible, but or the businesses that rent from municipalities, but that we add into the letter that that we'd like to expand the program to address the other gaps that have been identified as well. Because it seems, Gord actually made a really good point when he spoke today. He said, you know, why is the sales reduction that's needed to qualify for this program 70% drop in sales? We're basically pushing businesses to the point where, or we're letting businesses get to the point where they're about to close and go out of business, and then we're giving them a bit of support. And I think that makes a lot of sense. That's something that needs to change in this program as well. The wage subsidy program only requires a 30% drop in sales. A 30% drop in sales is still incredibly significant to a small business. So I know that Gord is advocating already, but I think if we can write a letter, it will just support the work that he's doing. Councillor Haggard, would you like to read the motion? And feel free to expand it if you like.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move that Council write a letter to MP Gord Johns advising the limitations of the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program, and request that he pursue on behalf of local governments that the federal government consider amending the program to allow for those tenants who rent for local governments to be eligible for the program, and to also address the gaps that are currently now in the program.
Second.
Thank you. It was seconded by Councillor Poon. Councillor Poon, thanks. I wasn't sure if you were on. Okay, wonderful. Councillor Solda.
Yeah, could we also send a copy to the ABICC and the UBCM? Maybe they can do some advocating too, which would give us even a stronger hold on that. So I would love to have a letter. And we're actually having a meeting on the ABICC next week. So
Perfect.
this would work.
Yeah, and we can forward that on, and yourself on ABICC and Councillor Poon with UBCM can bring that forward and encourage other municipalities to forward letters to their MPs as well. I think that's always helpful when we are speaking the same language. Okay, so on the motion, any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to item 4, from the Director of Parks, Recreation and Heritage, we have public outdoor playground equipment and spray parks. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very pleased to announce that the city has worked in conjunction with the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District and School District 70, and all playgrounds and spray parks in the Alberni Valley will be open starting on Wednesday. So when families arrive at the playgrounds, they'll be greeted by the corresponding signage you see on your screen. So a bit of a sneak peek to know what to expect there. I also wanted to touch on 3 items of note regarding other fields and other facilities in our community. So first of all organizations and user groups must develop a safety plan before they're able to restart programs and rentals. So our safety plan here at the city is based on WorkSafe BC requirements, and all user groups and rentals will work with their corresponding provincial or national sport organizations to approve their safety plans before they get started again. Secondly, ice rentals will start at the multiplex in mid-July. So once we've set our safety plan, we'll then determine what the public and registered programming will resume, and all city programming will be announced on our website at playinpa.ca. And thirdly, the Aquatic Center is in the midst of its annual shutdown. As determined months ago, the Aquatic Center will not open until September at the earliest. So similarly to the multiplex, the Aquatic Center programming will be announced on our website, playinpa.ca.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there questions from council? Councillor Corbeil and then Councillor Washington.
I just want to point out, recently I came across 2 videos. I don't know if these are new, that the museum staff has put together. There was one on Klitza Lodge and one on the lodge down at Cameron Lake, the old CP Lodge. They're absolutely amazing and really, really good stuff. Hopefully there's more to come. If these have been around for a long time, shame on me for not seeing them before. But I would hope if you ever get a chance, go to the little museum in Shawnigan Lake, and they have a little theater in there where they've got all these videos that they've produced. And it's really interesting. And I foresee the day that sometime our museum will have something similar. But this Kristen Smith, who I believe did it, great stuff. I really enjoyed them.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're really, really good. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question to the Director of Parks, Recreation and Heritage. I'm assuming that our 35th annual Our Town program will not happen till next year for right now?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So we're looking at how we can adapt programming to meet communities' need. At this stage, Our Town, as we've come to know it over the past decades, would definitely look different. We have not at this stage confirmed what things might look like this summer.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? I'll just ask, since spray parks are one of the topics here, I think at budget last year, we added in, it was a small amount of funds, but an amount of funds to put push buttons on the 2 spray parks that didn't have the buttons and had to go to Echo to get a key to use them. Do you know if that work has been done?
Yes, that work has been completed. So folks are welcome to engage the spray park themselves without requiring keys.
Oh, that's excellent. That's very exciting. All right. Well, I know there's a lot of people who are going to be very excited about our playgrounds reopening, including 4 people who live in my house. So looking forward to joining our playgrounds again this week. Thank you very much for bringing the update.
Thank you.
Okay, and on to item 5 from the Deputy City Clerk, support for local business owners and operators, phase 2 restart.
Thank you. Yes, Madam Mayor. So as local business community works with various levels of government for a gradual and phased reopening, here at City of Port Alberni, we're looking to see how we could assist businesses to reopen in an expedited manner. The province, acting on the advice of Dr. Henry, has set out measures that must be addressed in order for a business to reopen, with WorkSafe being tasked as the regulating authority. Subject to local businesses who hold a valid business license, the city will support businesses in reopening, and more specifically in the area of being able to expand in order to accommodate social and physical distancing by utilizing city-owned property. And an example of that is sidewalks. With this in mind, staff have prepared a draft set of guidelines for temporary sidewalk use, as well as a license of occupation, which acts as the legal instrument, which you've got the template in your package, but subject to the business use and the applicant, it may be slightly modified in order to accommodate their specific business needs. Business owners looking to reopen their operations to the general public will be required to meet provincial health officers' orders and guidelines, including establishing formal reopening plans. In an effort to assist the local economy, the city has developed a set of guidelines and criteria to help facilitate their reopening in a timely manner. Without these coordinated efforts, the local economy may not fully recover. So in your package is a set of guidelines that staff worked on to prepare to assist businesses, as well as a template for license of occupation. And welcome any questions of council.
Thank you very much. Are there questions? Councillor Solda.
Just, am I missing, is there is there a time limit? Like, I know, is it for next year? How are we working that? Because I don't, looking through it, I don't remember seeing that. Just kind of curious. I think it's great, but I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, so for an example, this would apply to business with licensing capacity and working with LC, the liquor licensing branch.
Yeah.
We're using October 31st, 2020 as a deadline. That aligns with the LCRB. The license of occupation will be scheduled to terminate on October 31st, 2020, but that doesn't say that we're not going to take a look at this again if we still find ourselves in the current situation, or to make accommodations if the province is opening up and creating more flexibility in response to COVID.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a positive for the businesses that really need to have use of the sidewalks for their business.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Councillor Solda, would you like to read that motion?
All right, Madam Mayor. I move that the Council for the City of Port Alberni endorse the city's guidelines for temporary sidewalk use and the license of occupation agreement attached as Schedule A and B to this report in the effort to support local business owners, operators in reopening their business as the province of BC enters phase 2 of its restart plan.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And item 6 from the Deputy City Clerk as well, Council Resolution Summary.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just going to scroll to the first page just to show an example. And just to provide a little background, in January of 2020, the Clerk's Department implemented a new process in which council resolutions requiring further action are numbered, tracked, and assigned for follow-up. So attached and showing on the screen now is what that summary actually looks like. I'll just go through quickly the headings. The number represents the resolution number assigned to the action-orientated resolutions of council. And for example, the R stands for a regular meeting, or if you were to see an S, that would be a special meeting. The assigned number increases with each action-orientated resolution that council makes throughout the year. The meeting date is self-explanatory. The resolution captures the resolution of council in its entirety. The assigned department is essentially that, whether it be planning, finance, clerks, or the administration side. Action will identify the department head in each department, and they will take the lead on the action steps that are required. The target date is projected as to staff's best efforts to meet that date if it needs to come back in front of council, or if that action is to be completed. And then the status column will provide a succinct account of what has been done, by whom, and what date. And if all aspects of the work have been completed, the column will reflect the word complete. It's intended that this would be brought forward to council on a quarterly basis. And again, if council has any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you. Any questions on this? Okay, seeing none, I think this is a really great tool just for council and also for the public to be able to really keep track of the resolutions that we're making, and you know, also kind of remember back where we at least be able to check in on where we're at with these things. So thanks for designing it. I think it looks really good. Councillor Corbeil, would you like to move receipt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Council for the City of Port Alberni receive the report from the Deputy City Clerk dated June 2nd, 2020, providing information on the city's resolution tracking process and a summary of 2020 council resolutions to date.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second that, Madam Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Haggard. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And no bylaws. So moving on to correspondence for action. And item 1 is an email dated June 3rd, 2020 from Jody from the ADSS Prom Parade Committee requesting the use of city streets for their grad parade on Saturday, June 27th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Would somebody like to read this motion? And then we can have discussion.
And Madam Mayor, if I may, could I just clarify quickly? Ms. Coulthard submitted a follow-up piece of correspondence, but it was received after the agenda had gone to print. The letter is very consistent with what you have in front of you, with the exception of the individual proposing 2 possible parade routes. One from Catalyst parking lot, traveling along Stamp to 3rd Avenue, to Kingsway, down and around Harbor Quay, up Argyle to 10th, and then down 10th Avenue to Roger and up to the Athletic Hall, or simply starting at the Athletic Hall, down Roger, and following the remainder of the route as I noted above. They made this accommodation because their correspondence that you have in your package reflected that they had not yet heard from ACE Flagging, who they were going to have provide traffic control. ACE Flagging had some concerns with the route, so that's why they proposed these other 2.
Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Paulson, would you read this motion?
Unmute me, that's unusual. I'd like to move that the email dated June the 3rd, 2020, requesting use of city streets for the ADSS grad parade on Saturday, June the 27th, 2020 at 6 p.m. be received, and further, the council supports the ADSS graduation from prom parade 2020 on the condition that all activities, events proposed meet island health requirements, recommendations, and considering the 2 parade routes as presented in the follow-up letter.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Great. Seconded by Councillor Corbeil. Tim, did you have anything you wanted to add on this?
Madam Mayor, only that it's our understanding that the group has communicated with Island Health and that the Island Health recommended that the event not go ahead given the size of the event or the number of cars. And I believe the motion that you're considering is specific to that. The council would support it provided Island Health gives their approval. So the group would need to modify their plans to come into compliance with Island Health.
Thank you. And I think it's really important. I know, I think it's really important that we do support this. And I'm hopeful that the group will be able to find a route or find a way to make this work where Island Health can support it as well, of course. We want, health and safety to be top of mind in all of this, but I think that I can't imagine having this be your grad year. And I think that, at that age, this is what people are looking forward to and looking forward to it for years. And this is such a big change for everyone, but for grads, it certainly has impacted them a lot as well. And I don't think we should diminish that at all. So I'm hopeful that they'll be able to make this work. And I know I've heard a lot of good ideas already coming forward about how to meet the group size requirements and things like that. So I'm optimistic they'll be able to make it happen. Councillor Solda.
I believe they could still social distance in their vehicles if they spread their cars apart. I think it would work.
For sure. I totally agree. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, the motion is moved and seconded. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And correspondence for information. City Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we have correspondence from Heather Shobe, ACRD support worker, and in that they're thanking the city for help with the Garden Starter Pack program. We have a letter from Lyman Jardin regarding the unfinished portion of the Scott Kenny Trail, and a letter from the Mayor of Ucluelet thanking the city for donation of the tsunami warning system sirens.
Thank you. Are there any items councillors would like to speak to? Councillor Haggard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to speak to the Garden Starter Pack program. I actually applied and was able to get some seeds and starter plants for my garden at a very small garden last year, and I expanded it this year. So they were a great help, and they're a great resource to send out weekly videos about what to do and what not to do. So it's a wonderful program, and I do hope they'll be able to continue it after this year. Thank you.
Yeah, they did a really great job on the program. I bought a starter pack as well, and I liked that they gave you the option of buying a pack for yourself and buying a pack to donate. So they did a really good job of making that program accessible to everyone. And I can't garden. I usually kill pretty much everything I plant, or any plant that comes into my house as well. And I'm growing a lot of lettuce outside. I don't know what I'm even going to do with it. There's too much for my family to eat. So it's a great initiative, and certainly timely right now to be when we're so focused on food security and really, you know, starting to understand the value of local food even more than ever. So they've done a great job. And I just wanted to highlight as well that city staff were really, really helpful. Willa and her team really helpful at the coordination of the day where all the packs were picked up. I know Jessica from Nights Alive was there, and really great to see city staff there helping out with that program. So thanks to everyone who was a part of it. Councillor Solda.
It's so funny because you're same as me. I don't have a green thumb. Everything dies. So, but we do have a patio garden, and I just want to say what an amazing job the organizers have done, because I actually talked to them and they said the program is such a success. And I think next year it's going to be even better. So people, get out there and start your gardens if you haven't.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other items councillors would like to speak to? Okay, seeing none, I will move receipt of our correspondence items numbered 1 through 3. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Washington. All in favor? Carried. And council reports. Oh, there's Councillor Poon popping up. Thanks, Councillor Poon. Any items councillors would like to highlight for reports? Okay. Seeing none, would somebody like to move receipt? Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Poon. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And any items of new business to bring forward? Okay, seeing none, on to question period. City Clerk, have we received any questions?
Nothing, Madam Mayor.
Okay. All right, then I think it's time for adjournment. Would somebody like to move adjournment? Moved by Councillor Solda, seconded by Councillor Paulson. All in favor? Carried. And thanks everyone for joining us today. We are working on plans as a city to start hosting meetings somewhere where people are able to come in person if they choose, and of course still have access electronically for those who prefer to receive and to watch meetings that way. It's been, you know, such a strange and difficult time, but we're hoping we'll be able to get back to some form of meeting, socially distanced, where we can all see each other again in person. All right, thank you everyone.